Hello, and welcome to the Halloween special. And I have a few interesting stories to tell you. My friends here can adhere to that. So, first of all, we will begin with a bit of a funny story of a personal experience of mine. So, back in the day, when I used to live at Edinburgh Castle, yes, Edinburgh Castle, I used to live there, believe it or not, I was on the night duty, and I was tasked to go to the top of the tower to take down the flag. So, I started off at the guardhouse, and for those of you that have been to Edinburgh Castle, you'll know it's a fair hike to get to the tower. You can take a shortcut, because halfway up the mound there is a staircase. So you double back on yourself but go up the staircase. I get to the top of the staircase, I swing right to head towards the tower, and I instantly freeze. There in front of me was a bright white light and a black silhouette going down to the ground. And the irony is, I had no choice, I had to go closer. Had a job to do, it had to be done. So as I get closer, the outline of this weird figure suddenly becomes so obvious it's unbelievable. It turns out it was a lamppost with a round sign and a bright white light shining on it. So, at the time, because of the distance of things, it was quite terrifying, because I'd never been up there that time of night. It was winter, as you know, it's dark now, and it was quite terrifying, especially when you swing around the corner and you don't expect it. So, there you have it. Now, I'm going to go in date order. You have the mystery of the Titanic. And the reason why I say it's a mystery, because we all seem to assume that it was just a perfectly normal sinking when it hit an iceberg. And I mean no disrespect to any of the families that had loved ones on board. Because according to my common knowledge, if I'm right, it's either, I believe it's my nan's great aunt, believe it or not, was aboard the Titanic herself. So, but there is a common belief that there was a mummy of a pharaoh that hasn't been named, that was trying to be smuggled aboard for $500,000 to get it to America. But there's also the theory that it's a priestess of Amun-Ra. So, where do you go with this story? Because I will put a link in the description to the page that I've been reading on, and it's extensive enough that there are so many stories about it. But there's one in particular that I'm going to focus on. And this is only a little section of it. In 1910, a man, an Egyptologist named Douglas Murray, who was British, was approached by an American man who wanted to sell him his coffin. So, he bought it, but after 3 days, the American died. He never had a chance to cash the check. Some crazy shit right there. Then, after that, there is the little fact that a man named William Thomas Stead went on the Titanic. It's not clear whether he died or not. However, a friend who was a spiritualist of him, named Mr. Penny, spoke with Mr. Stead, and he warned him not to get on the ship as it was destined for disaster. So, where do you go with that one? It's up to you to make up your own mind. The page link is below. Have a click, have a read. It will make you think. It will definitely make you think. Now we fast forward massively in time to a personal experience of my father. Now, we've all heard stories of Dick Turpin, Richard Turpin, the famous or infamous highway robber, the highwayman. He was a legend. Now, 1986, in London. My father was riding home on his motorbike one evening. It was really late. He was heading along the Hamworth Road, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this figure appears. A black silhouette, riding a horse. Now, I'm no genius, but the time of night, riding a horse at that time in 1986 was just trouble. During the day, fine. But that time of night, no way. Anyway. Yes. This gets intriguing now, because my dad he did outrun it along this road for 10 minutes. Now, I ain't no genius, but that smells a rat right there. 10 minutes. It's a long time. Who would follow someone on a motorbike riding a normal horse for 10 minutes? At dozy o'clock at night. Doesn't make sense. So, this figure followed him all the way to the boundary of Hounslow Common, and without warning, without prejudice, it stopped dead, and it just stood there. Did not move. Eventually the figure faded, and every time my father tells that story, you can see it in his eyes. You know when someone's telling the truth, that look that they have, that look that they give you, it's not a look of deceit, it's a look of honesty. It's a look of... what's the word I'm looking for? It's a look of trust. It's something you can trust, that nobody is bullshitting you about whatsoever. And to this day, he has that fear. And it was to the point that back then, when he got home, he actually went straight upstairs and went to bed. He didn't speak of it for God knows how long to anyone. So, yeah, obviously back in the day, the old pawn tash was there, motorbike, the leathers, as was the thing. So it's, we've all heard stories of Dick Turpin, because everyone just seems to assume that it was around the Yorkshire area, Dick Turpin, where he got caught. But not a lot of people seem to stop and think, where he started. That's where he started. Logically, ghosts haunt the place that they like the most. In this case, the place Dick Turpin never got caught. It makes sense. So, make up your own mind on that story. I myself, if you were to look into my father's eyes, you would believe it. And then we skip further forward. October 2003. Now, this is a very interesting one. If you remember rightly, a lot of newspapers printed a picture, or numerous pictures, under multi-shots. And these pictures were of someone who you could say would dress like Henry VIII, for example, opening the ruddy, great big emergency exit doors, double door I might add, not single, double door, and then slamming them shut, and you could see the figure clear as day. Of course, many weeks later, theories, superstitions came out. Oh, it's one of the security guards dressed up in costume. You know, they're just playing a trick. It's funny, because those security guards, I would like to think that would be a sackable offence. They never got sacked. So, a prank? Maybe. Personally, I don't think so. Because you have to go and look at the footage back a few weeks prior to that as well. At certain instances, these doors, bear in mind how heavy they are, would slam open and get absolutely annihilatedly slammed shut again. But this time, there was no figure there. Now, I'm no scientist, but for doors as heavy as they were, you would easily capture someone. You would easily capture someone. These double doors, they're as plain as the eye can see. And then all of a sudden, this figure appears. A few weeks after that. Because I don't know whether you know, they go back, they review security footage, you know. A common thing, mostly you'll find it's to improve on security, blind spots in cameras. We all know cameras have them. So, was it a ghost? My answer is yes. Whatever yours is, again, have a look at the link. There's some interesting photographs. Instantly, I guarantee you will think that it just looks like a con. However, read the whole backstory and you'll soon see. Read the stories that the staff have. They'll tell you a few things, that's for sure. And then we go to 2005. Back to Edinburgh Castle. Now, this gets really interesting. I already told you about the spoof story, which did happen. Turned out it wasn't a ghost. But on that same evening, after everyone's left, there was no function or anything, no parties going on. It's part of the job to make sure that there was nobody left. So, I do that. I start going up the tower, and I get about to the second floor, and I can hear talking in a room. Between two people, not just one, between two people. So I listen for a bit, talking stops. I ask if anybody's there. Nothing. Quiet. So, continue up the tower. You get to the sort of blocked off area. It's blocked off by a wooden door. You unbolt the door, unlock it, open it, then you go up a really even more narrow spiral staircase, up a metal ladder that's been put in place, open the hatch, take the flag down, Close the hatch, do all the usual, come down the staircase. Now, as soon as I get to that wooden door at the bottom of the narrow staircase, I hear talking again. Only this time it's louder. It sounds like it's just sort of... If you're halfway round the big spiral staircase, it sounds like it's just there. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't dare call out, so I waited. Talking stopped. Waited a little bit more. This time about 10 minutes have passed. And I lock the door that goes to the narrow staircase, and I slowly start walking down. Halfway round, nothing there. Then I hear a door rattling on the same level where I heard the initial voices. So I think nothing of it, and I just keep walking. But then, as I get about one sort of circulation down to the bottom level where the great big wooden door is, where you go into the tower, all of a sudden that door slams shut. Now here's the creepy thing. It's policy that when you go in, you lock that main door behind you, which I did. How could that door then get unlocked, swing open and slam shut? But bear in mind there is only 2 keys. One of them is on the tower key and the other is on the spare tower key. So you work that one out. Hasten to say, I locked that door, I walked away, and I never went or stepped foot in that tower again. Obviously, before I started working there, I knew that there were various ghost stories about the castle. One of them about a soldier in the dungeon. If you haven't heard it, then I'd look it up. That's all I can say. I really would look it up. It's an intriguing story. And then we move on to no more than about a month later. And this was in November time, 2005. I was due to be on the night shift again. I got told I could just go back to my room, just chill out, just tip my head in the morning before the boss got there at 6 in the morning. So I just go to the room, chill out, it's fine. Okay, so I then go to my room, start something, watch a bit of TV, and yeah, eventually go to sleep, only to be awoken. Now you need to bear in mind that where my room was, I was right at the very top floor of the main building. I mean the very top floor. So I'm awoken by the door that leads from the stairs into our long corridor where the rooms are. Swings and slams open. And I mean it's so loud that you could feel the floor shaking, and I'm in a bed. Then all you hear is these footsteps thumping down the corridor. Thump, 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 thump. All the way to the end, to where the shower, sink, toilet, rooms are, or area is, sorry, because it went into a massive area like that. So showers, toilets, sinks, etc. And then, where the window is, which is opposite the door, but right at the end of the corridor, you can hear that rattle open. It's one of the old wooden style slide out windows, and silence for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then this is the weird part. Logically, if you were looking into the corridor from my room, you would have the door on the far right, and then all the way down the end, it's a good 25 to 30 metres, is the window that slammed open. All of a sudden, while I'm laying in bed, there's this massive thumping on the roof. But this time, it's going from the area of the door all the way to where the window is. There's nothing that's gone from the window to where the door is on the roof. All the way along. And you could hear it clear as day. Thump, 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 bang, bang. And then, again, silence for about 30 seconds. Then you hear this almighty rattle as the window slams down. And this is where it gets a bit weird, because you hear thump, silence, all the way down the corridor. Whereas before you heard thump, thump, thump. And it was very strange. The door again slammed open, but this time it was so bad that the top half of the hinges actually came off the door. That's how bad it was. And with there being a straight sort of stone staircase going up to the level I was on, you can actually hear the feet slapping on the staircase all the way to the bottom. Then the door to the spiral staircase, you hear that open, you can just hear the faint slaps going down the stairs. They weren't going up because they couldn't go up. The only way was down. And it eventually just disappeared. So it came to the next day, found the doors off the hinges, but bizarrely, because I was awake, obviously at 5:30, having to go down there at 6 in the morning again, before the boss got there, I looked at the end of the corridor, because I had to go down there to shave, as you do. I didn't get much sleep that night, and nobody else was about. They'd all gone home. And the window was open, even though it had been clearly slammed shut. Now, how scary can you not get? I mean, it was creepy, to say the least. But luckily, I only had to endure a couple more months, and then I was moved to a different part of Edinburgh, thank God. And that's it. So we have gone from the mummy on the Titanic to Dick Turpin on Hamworth Road. We've gone to the Hampton Court Ghost, then to Edinburgh Castle. So, where do we go from here? Well, it's quite simple. There's one more little story I need to tell you about the house I'm in now. It wasn't so much a seance, but out of the blue, my son kept saying that there was monsters in his bedroom, to the point where he would scream and cry, and he didn't dare move out of his bedroom. So, one night when the children were stopping out, myself and my partner, we were just relaxing, having a couple of bottles, unwinding, as you do when the children aren't there, to get back into your own comfort zone, to relax, no stress, no worry. So after we checked that the kids were okay down where they were, we decided that we'll go up and have a look in his bedroom. We took a couple of still photos, not much, a few dust particles. There were a few orbs that do seem convincing, as you know, orbs, manifestation of a ghost. And you couldn't really tell fact from fiction in the photos because, again, dust, etc. You could make out a few that were clearly not dust, it was weird. They had a few odd shapes in there as well, which of course, to be dust, unless you get long triangles of dust, it's highly unlikely. So the weirdest thing was, my partner, she was too scared to participate, so at the time, with my son not stopping in there, I had my computer set up, and I did a little bit of recording, asking the usual, is anybody there? I don't mean you any harm. And when I asked if anybody's there, you heard the normal fuzzy static in the background like you do, and then you heard this really faint whisper of, and to tone it exactly, it was like this. Yes. Exactly like that. And then, do you mean us any harm? And there was a distinct, oh, exactly like that. Now, of course, common sense, I'd make sure the TV downstairs was off. My partner was listening to her music with headphones in, so you could not hear it. There was nothing else turned on, other than the recorder I was using on my phone. I even made sure the PC had been turned off a couple of hours before to cool down. He had a usual couple of creaks from the PC, but no, to this day, we still can't work out what it is. He's still terrified to go in that room. It's the room that's just through the wall behind me. So I'm going to leave it at this. I will turn this bedroom light out, and I'll leave you with this. I'll give it a few seconds. So, if there is anybody in this room or the adjacent room that wishes to say something, YouTube is your oyster. Say it now. And I think we'll leave it there. So if you want to dive into that little snippet, then by all means, then let me know if you can hear anything. Although bizarrely, I look at the soundbar on my recording and it seems to be going very high. Never normally does it, only reaches halfway. I mean, I have to be really shouting if that was the case. There you go, you see, so that's unusual. So remember, Halloween. The witching hour is upon us. Stay safe. Most of all, have fun. And let's just hope that the ghouls and ghosts will forever stay peaceful. Goodbye.